this is coming back again now. So it's an issue really. So I think from my perspective, I can see almost like a helicopter view what the advantages are to really, really good mutual recognition of each other's regulations. Very much, I think, customs compatibility and harmonisation of customs, particularly in terms of road transport and border processes. And I know the IRU is making great strides in trying to affect the ease of freight across the borders within this region. It's all leading to the same experience, really, where you need to, or the public and the private sector authorities need to work as closely together as they possibly can to harmonise as much as they possibly can in terms of customs, in terms of regulation, in terms of recognising each other's standards, while making an effort to keep freight moving, because every country imports, exports. This region is obviously a massive user of road transport. So I think it's in everyone's, to everyone's benefit, really, to make this harmonisation, make the friction for freight transport across one's borders as smooth as possible, to just really, really start accelerating the transport and make the road transport as efficient as you possibly can. So I think we've kind of, in front of a UK perspective, we've kind of been here, seen this before, and we've been through various iterations of what these challenges and opportunities can be. But I think now this is we can see the changes going on in this region is colossal, and road transport, as always, will be at the cutting edge of these changes. Thank you, Remy.
Thank you, John. I agree with you. The harmonization is maybe the most complex part, because when we talk about multiple border crossing, then operators, they need to repeat many of the steps, and it's adding cost, adding complexities, delays, and we understand the importance of timing. We collaborated on one shipment that was happening from Lithuania all the way to Saudi Arabia here. It was a surprise at the beginning that you would like to move by truck all the way to the Gulf. But this is how it is today, and that we need to go through all the complexities and deliver on time. I will give you a little break, and I will move to Mr. Bassel El Dabbagh. Thank you for being with us, Bassel. You are the CEO of Seyfa المجدوعي today. The JV was maybe the news of the year. Two big groups. Seyfa is a world leader in third-party logistics. المجدوعي is a leading operator in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The JV was announced, and I was there in October when the ceremony took place here in Riyadh, and I remember you saying something that really I did not forget, because you said there are two companies started as a family business in two different parts of the world, and they ended up joining hands here in Saudi Arabia. Fascinating story. Everyone is looking forward now to what the group will bring in the future. And here is my first question to you. What do you expect from this JV? Can you tell us more about how did it happen, the idea that came, and then what is your expectations for the future of this?
Sure. Thank you for the introduction, Rami. Indeed, I will start with what brought these two companies together. Closer? Yeah. So what brought these companies together is really the shared family values. These two giant groups are family-owned companies, and they grew from very humble beginnings decades ago to what they are today, but they maintained throughout their history the family values. And this is one of the main factors that drove these two companies together. But if I take a step back and ask about the context of this JV, of course the context is Saudi Arabia, and the context is the Vision 2030, with the transport and logistics sector being a key pillar of this vision, enabling the growth of all the other sectors as well, all the industrial sectors. And so there was a need really to do things differently. With such growth rate, with such mega projects, you really needed very strong local expertise, with the local presence across the kingdom, local assets, relationships, local know-how of execution. And then also you needed now the international aspect. You needed a global network present all over the world with really global expertise and specialized expertise in certain sectors. So the two companies are really very complementary. المجدوعي Logistics is, as you said, a top 5 local champion, and Seyfa Logistics is a top 5 global champion in logistics and transportation. They're very complementary, and what the JV will be able to do is to offer the customers really end-to-end supply chain solutions while controlling almost every bit of the supply chain, if we can say so. Maybe not all of it, not 100%, but most of it for sure. And driving what is needed for the successful execution of these mega projects and the successful execution of Saudi Vision 2030.
Thank you, Bassel. The fact that everyone was excited about the news, it shows how much we would like to see an outcome of it, making supply chain more efficient, new technologies. Everyone will be learning from this, and maybe it will be the cornerstone for more JVs in other groups. I don't know, but this is something definitely inspiring. We will ask you more questions about it. We'll give you a little break, and I will move to you, Berna. Thank you for being with us. Transas Global Logistics group based in Turkey, and you are now a global group working worldwide. An inspiring story also. You started as a transport operator, you moved to logistics, and now you even handle complex projects, delivery, cross-border delivery, and also mega infrastructures projects. You have been part of delivering and realizing the Riyadh Metro itself, something that we definitely need to hear about. My question to you is, maybe let's talk about technology, AI within the group. How is your company now integrating this recent technology into your business? And then how digital innovation can enhance the supply chain and logistics sector?
Thank you so much for the kind invitation for this esteemed panel and this conference to the Transport Ministry and Logistic Services and the Middle East High Technologies Institute. If I explain about something, Transtash briefly. Transtash was founded 1977 as a road transport company with a small fleet. Over the years, we extend our services and departments into sea freight as bulk and container shipments, air freight, multimodal transport, but mostly project logistics, oversized and heavy lift cargoes. A highlight of our journey is our unmatched expertise on airport construction logistics. Transtash has successfully completed 16 major airports construction logistics in Turkey and worldwide. And also, Transtash has played a pivotal role in delivering logistics solutions for large-scale energy plants, especially in Africa, and key infrastructures and superstructures projects such as bridges, water supply systems, energy plants, tunnels, residential and commercial areas, and other major constructions, both in Turkey and globally. Moreover, I'm pleased to mention that Transtash contributed to this city by serving as logistic partner of those construction companies, those Inşaat, during the Riyadh Metro project. But this is my first time in Riyadh. I'm very pleased to be here also. Beyond major projects, we offer specialized logistics services, including art logistics, for instance. We are proud to be main logistics partner for Contemporary Istanbul, the region's leading art fair. These endeavors highlight our ability to adapt to complex and diverse challenges in the logistics sector. And today, AI and digital innovation are integral to our company. For example, we use AI-powered systems for road optimizations. which reduce fuel consumption and emissions with improving delivery times. We also see AI powerful tool for promoting sustainability. By integrating smart systems into our process, we contribute greener logistics. And looking ahead, we aim to further integrate autonomous systems and develop AI-based collaboration tools that bring greater agility to supply chains. Thank you.
Thank you, Berna. Yes, it's true first that we need to get used to say Turkey. Excuse me, I say Turkey. So, and also about AI, yes, I agree with you. And at IRU, we started already engaging with regulatory bodies on the responsible use of AI, because we know that it can go in different directions, and this is something that together with the industry we need to keep working on. We'll come back to you, Berna. Thank you. Andreas, we'll talk a bit about road safety. You have a very sensitive industry when we talk about chemical transportation. The question to you is, what are the key safety challenges that you face today when talking about chemical transportation, and how at ECTA you make sure that your members are complying with the regulations across the supply chain, notably in Europe? Can we activate the mic, please?
Yeah. Well, the most critical part when we talk about safety is the human behavior. Everybody is an expert what he's doing every day, and this routine is a danger. And if one thinks that he is acting safe in his action, doesn't mean that it's safe for the next one in the chain. So to tackle this uncertainty of human behavior, ECTA developed best behavior-based safety guidelines with different topics. We developed the BBS, behavior-based safety driver training, which is an ongoing training for chemical drivers for their safety on the road. It's not in the classroom, it's a practical one-day training with a trainer sitting beside him and teaching him on safety aspects. This is mandatory every 3 years for drivers active in the chemical industry in Europe, mandatory from ECTA standards. And we are happy to see, we established this one about 15 years ago, and we are happy to see that legislation followed. Now it is a European legislative that a driver has to do an ongoing driver training every 5 years. We still stick to the 3 years because we think it is a better written. Apart this, we also developed BBS on safe loading and unloading. Those are guidelines which explains the role of the driver, the loading and unloading personnel. And with those guidelines, we made safety more as a daily importance for every stakeholder in the logistic chain. And we tremendously improved our incident ratio in transit, on the road, at loading. Where we still struggle is at unloading, because those guys are numerous companies, not organized in an association like Sefig or ACTA or EPCA, but we are on a good path, and we strongly believe in these BBS guidelines, further developed and updated on all the time. Yeah.
Thank you, Andreas. It's true that when we think about road transport, we think that only the transport leg is important, but as you mentioned, loading, unloading, how to really check the vehicle and then make sure that before departure and on arrival.
It's also the cleaning of the trailers, the bulk and liquid containers, those kind of things. Those are all actions where people are involved, and then safety is a topic. Yeah.
Exactly, I agree with you. And at IRU, maybe if I can mention, we have developed a tool which we call the Roadmasters. And Roadmasters is exactly about that. It's not only about the driving experience, but on top of the training, we want to make sure that the driver acquired the skills, really, not only get the training because he has to, And this is where the assessment part comes into the picture. We help companies. It's a digital tool, as you mentioned, practical in most of it. It's to help companies also to identify certain weaknesses, because the driver might be 70% good, but for example, for loading and unloading, he is not. So we emphasize on helping companies to make decisions and then train the drivers where it's needed. Thank you again, Andreas. A little break and we'll come back to you with more insights. John, speaking about AI as well, the question today is how, for you, AI is transforming the international trade experience, if you have any specific example. And do you see any barriers today to adopt AI in international cross-border trade?
Yeah. I'll probably start with one of the main barriers. The main barriers that we've seen in the UK is the reluctance from the industry to embrace AI as a sector, really. However, the market forces are really, really changing this perception rapidly now, and we're seeing there's probably four main benefits of what I can see from the industry, the way this is changing now. Firstly, there's predictive demand and supply chain forecasting, which has never really been possible before at this speed and the scale that is possible now with AI. AI is changing us completely, and you can see the lessons learned from the e-commerce industry, how you can order something in Dubai, for example, you can order it online and within 2 hours it's delivered by a means of transport that doesn't cause any pollution, and so on and so on. So this is changing, and it's filtering down to the general transport and to the cross-border work within Europe as well. Secondly, dynamic routing and freight optimization. This has always been a very manual process. It's relied on human beings, if you like, but this is one area where AI can really, really change, and is changing how this works from a material point of view. So we have, I would say, we have a very mature and a very hyper-competitive and a very slick, I would say, domestic transport service, where there's been a huge growth in less truckload work nationally. So in terms of what you would call LTL traffic, there's probably about half a dozen companies who are very much focused on the pallet deliveries. And to these vehicles, this is really, really cutting-edge AI, where the pallet what's applied to the parcel sector has now gone to the LTL, and it's now applying to the FTL world as well. So, for example, one of the main logistics leaders in the UK, it's probably got about 5,000 trucks, trailers itself. It's working on behalf of the vast majority of the blue chip customers, shippers within the UK, who probably have another 10 to 15,000 trucks, trailers, and then it also has a significant number of 3PL suppliers. So we're probably talking a trailer park, maybe 20,000 trailers running around the UK on a daily basis. To control that with a manual system without AI is a demand, and that causes all sorts of operational problems with silos. What the AI does, it allows this information, the data, to be centralized on a very, very fast time basis, and also in terms of controlling the volume. So the future now that we're seeing with AI in terms of the transformational aspect is it's allowing a centralization of this function, and it's also allowing greater efficiency within the transport sector. So it doesn't really matter what name is on the side of the vehicle anymore. If you're part of this network and this platform, every load that's wherever it is from A to B, C to D, is pushed onto a vehicle that's available. So it's kind of erasing some of the traditional barriers where certain companies will be running empty, but there'll be loads running back to that same region. It's cutting through a lot of the traditional sort of manual waste, if you like, within the industry. So obviously a fully loaded truck is a very efficient truck. It's very efficient in terms of earnings and also in terms of pollution and CO2. So this is very much what's driving the changes now. I'd say, so in summary, really, it was a reluctance from the industry, but I think, as with most technology, once people and industry start realizing there's a competitive advantage to having this AI and using that to your own competitive advantage, this is what's changing everything now, and we're seeing this pretty much every sector of the industry, right down to the FTL traffic, and also in terms of the international business from the UK into Europe and beyond, and even to the Middle East. This is changing the sector, and this is happening right now. So the science fiction, if you like, is already here now.
Thank you, John. And one area It's working. Yeah. Sorry for that. Yeah, one area at IRU we are working to automate is the advanced submission of cargo information to customs, because when you have multiple borders, the HS code is different from one country to another, and one wrong submission can result in catastrophic consequences where the shipment is returned to origin and so on. So with AI, we are trying to automate this process in order to reduce errors and also to make the process even faster. Bassel, maybe a similar question. We expect AI to be part of Seyfa Majdoui today. For you, what are the opportunities for the group to grow under AI, and what are the challenges as well? What do you like to achieve that you are not able for certain reasons, for example?
It's difficult to add much to what my colleague said, because really he covered it beautifully, and I agree with all the points he said. I would say that okay, artificial intelligence today is helping us with demand planning, demand forecasting. It helps optimize the inventory of our customers, and this reduces cost substantially. It helps also with optimization, whether route optimization or load optimization, and also this increases the efficiency and decreases costs significantly. What I would add is that at Seyfa Majdoui, we're doing it not only for road transport, but also for all modes of transport. Particularly, we're trying to do it with ocean freight today, and we have now better visibility on when the vessels arrive. And we've been always doing that. However, it was static. Now it's dynamic. It's real time, and it takes many more factors into consideration. It takes news into consideration. So whenever you have a strike in a given port, the AI automatically adjusts the estimated time of arrival for the vessel. So it's many more factors. It's in real time, and it's in all modes of transport. I think that's what I can add as a freight forwarder. This is what we're working on to bring to our customers. As for the challenges is, typical AI is a lot of data, and you have to have data accuracy, which is a challenge. You have to have systems talking to each other, so compatibility and integration of the systems together to make the AI work. You need to train sometimes your employees, but also your customers' employees across systems to make the best out of the AI. So this is still new and still happening. These are the challenges that we are facing, but we're getting there.
Yes, I agree with you. You need to feed the algorithm with the right data, because otherwise you might lead to catastrophic consequences. At the same time, even though people are still challenging the use of AI, but I think with the disruption to the supply chain today, the geopolitical context, we need tools to help us, because, I mean, as an operator, you rightly said, we need to know and we need to deliver. Consumers, they still expect to have everything on the shelves when they go to buy.
Yeah.
But they don't know the challenge behind. And then speaking about the Red Sea crisis, the war in the Middle East, everything is happening. I mean, you still need to perform. So if there is something that can help you, yes, we need to embrace those technologies. Thank you, Bassel. And coming back to you, Berna, we spoke to Andreas about road safety, and also the question to you, do you think that AI can help in optimizing or maybe improving the road safety conditions within your group? How are you tackling the road safety side of the work?
AI has the potential to revolutionize safety in road transportation through predictive analytics, automation, and advanced decision-making tools. For instance, the emergence of the metal collar era highlights the role of autonomous vehicles in reducing human error and accident. AI-powered system can monitor driver behavior, analyze road conditions, and predict maintenance needs, creating safer transport ecosystem. However, successful adaptation depends on high-quality, accurate data, as inconsistent or biased data can compromise the effectiveness of AI systems. Additionally, companies must address the ethical dimensions of AI, ensuring transparency, fairness and accountability in its use. Practical changes including high implementation costs, infrastructure gaps, and resistance from traditional operators to adopt new technologies. Despite these hurdles, the combination of human expertise and AI, as emphasized in the human and AI collaboration model, has the potential to revolutionize road transport safety. And AI an indispensable part of the sector's future.
Thank you, Berna. During our IRU latest meeting with the United Nations, we were talking about autonomous vehicles, and one of the challenges that they raised, like, okay, governments, maybe they are willing to adopt those technologies, but how do you address cybersecurity issues? Because if the system is hacked, then what will happen to the whole autonomous driving experience? So yes, we are not there yet, but the road is full of challenges. Hopefully we can see something improving in the future. Andreas, coming back to you, and now we will talk a bit about sustainability. Looking at your website, you have launched the responsible care strategy at ECTA. You also have the zero emission knowledge platform for your members. The questions, what role ECTA is playing today in the sustainability practice across the supply chain? And then can you share example of successful, like maybe initiatives that happened recently?
Well, indeed, sustainability in the sense of decarbonization is an important factor in our industry. And in Europe, we have the EU Commission who introduced us the Green Deal, meaning net zero logistics by 2050. I was asked my opinion about that, and I said, well, I would like to be alive in 2050, so I don't have any opinion on that. But we have short-term targets, which is the Fit for 55. It's called like this. It means that we, on a legislative basic, we need to reduce the CO2 emissions by 55% by 2030 compared to 1990. This is a challenging target because for our industry, the transport industry, the technology is not there. We talk about alternative fuels. They are not in the quantity available which would be needed. We talk about alternative powertrains. This is fine. BEV is a nice technology, but when we talk about 40-ton, 44 HGVs, we stop after 150, 200 kilometers and recharge our batteries. So that's not the solution either yet. And on top, the equipment we are going to see by 2030 on European roads are the very same than today, because trucks running on the streets today are still running in 8 to 9 years. What ECTA is doing on those two fields is that we gather information in collaboration with partners like IRU, with your Green Compact study, which is a very good source for information, and others. We gather information and of the development of technology and other things and offer it to our members. But I think we also need to talk about immediate actions, and there we consider ECTA and the ECTA members the combined transport as the low-hanging fruit. Combined transport by using an extensive sense the railways, we are able to reduce the CO2 emission by up to 90%. And for the pre- and onward carriage of combined transport, which are short distance carriages, we can use BEVs, we can use alternative fuels. This helps a lot. And ECTA tries to help its members, which are all huge investors in combined transport solutions, intermodal transport solutions in Europe, to advocate also, again, together with IRU and other associations, to advocate towards the legislative bodies to improve the circumstances, to improve the field for combined transport in Europe, because we think this is the first step, a big enabler to reduce the carbon emissions in the land transport. But it's still a long way to go to come to the net zero logistics, and yeah, that's the moment we see the situation and try to help our members as much as possible.
Thank you, Andreas. And yes, the interesting part about it is that everybody agrees that by 2050 we need to be carbon neutral, but no one has the solution today. So this is where we are, and this is why the IRU in 2021, we launched the Green Compact, and the Green Compact was founded on the basis that this is a collective roadmap gradually to reach 2050 based on data, research, input from the industry, governments, etc. What we came to recently is that to reach that target, we need to consider what we call the duplex approach, is, as you mentioned, a combination of alternative fuels that to be defined where and what, and also efficient logistics as well on the other side. John, coming back to you on the same topic, sustainability. Global trade is under huge pressure. Today, it has to be more sustainable, and it also coming with the cost and then all the challenges that come. The question to you is, how do you see the global supply chain adapting to sustainability demands from both governments and also the customers?
Yeah, it's a good question, really, and it's one that I suppose in the UK we've got really, really recent knowledge of this. In the beginning, in very, very recent history, sustainability, decarbonisation has been very much seen as a cost burden on the industry, and I can see probably in the last 12 months this is now changing now. So decarbonisation strategies and the greening, if you like, of road transport is actually becoming a necessity to the sustainability of the industry. Why is that? There's something new come along, and I'm not sure if it's happening in the United States, but certainly coming from Europe, and the UK is adapting this. And this is in terms of carbon reporting. So the major market forces, the big global companies across the world, everybody's committed to decarbonisation for whatever year it is, 20, 30, 40. It doesn't really matter what the year is. The simple fact is they are committed to having to do this. And what's the simplest way to decarbonise a big supply chain network is to lean on the transport suppliers or the transport elements of that network. And we're seeing this is where it's coming through now, particularly in terms of on the domestic market, massive big government infrastructure projects. They have a very stringent carbon reduction element to getting these government contracts. Then, of course, the quickest and the easiest way to meet those requirements is again to pressurise onto the road transport element of the construction and the supply chain and so on and so on. So I think from what I can share with the audience in terms of what we've learned from the last sort of 5 years from the UK side, there's three elements to this. There's the fleet decarbonisation, there's the operation itself, and there's a driver. And in terms of the driver and the fleet, it's very much basic stuff. The driver needs to be trained to the highest ability in order to use the least fuel when he's driving the vehicle. It needs to be supported by smart technology within the office. Again, this is where the AI comes in terms of a smart fleet needs a smart technical backup within the administration, within the operation itself. And the fleet itself, this can be managed now by digital tools within the truck itself. So the monitoring of the condition, the roadworthiness, the efficiency in terms of braking, fuel consumption, etc. of the vehicle itself. This is not reliant on driver feedback who may be missing for days, hours or weeks. This can all be seen in real time by the operational personnel. And you can see now the AI, again going back, is taking that elements of monitoring, if you like, out of the hands of human being into an automated system now. So the vehicle is talking to an AI platform within an operations office, which has real-time knowledge of the consumption, the braking effect, of the behaviour of the driver in terms of driving the vehicle, if it's harsh or gentle, and so on and so on. I agree with Andreas in terms of the decarbonisation, alternative fuels. This has to be driven by a public-private sector partnership. The industry will evolve. The industry has always evolved. I mean, I always have the quote that my grandfather evolved from 4 legs to 4 wheels in terms of road transport and requirements. This is what the industry does, but it needs that bit of help in terms of infrastructure now. In the UK, we're probably seen as one of the leaders in electrical adoption of heavy trucks. it's a minute amount of the total truck park. And the reason why, yes, there's a cost element to it, but also is the infrastructure is really becoming the biggest barrier. There's only one public charging system in the UK for HGVs. Yes, there's a lot more private ones which can't be shared with the general public. So I think there needs to be a little bit of thought from in every country really, and how this public-private sector strategy can be developed. And from what we've heard this morning from this conference, in terms of green supply corridors, if you like, between the new logistics zones or between new port and airport areas, there's a prime opportunity to sort of develop that strategy of the infrastructure with some rational thinking in terms of what the future requirements are going to be in 5, 10, 15 years' time. Do we start thinking about now introducing e-charging points, possibly hydrogen in the future? I think that, you know, the leaders of all of our countries all around the world need to start making this assumption and really start thinking about where we're going, rather than relying it completely onto the industry, because the industry, certainly in the UK, cannot afford to take that burden itself.
Thank you, John. And I may add, I don't know why every time I start to speak it has to happen. I may add also that maybe the biggest emission for the truck is when it's sitting idle at the borders, when completing customs formalities. So this is maybe the biggest emission happening. And this is where it shows that we can act now on certain initiatives to reduce already CO2 emission, not to wait until 2050 to press a magical button and then move to zero emission. We did a study last year here in the GCC region for a reefer truck that was moving from UAE to Saudi Arabia, and then we measured, actually, as you know, in IRU, we manage what is known as the TIR system. The TIR is a trade facilitation tool for border crossings. So we measured how, under time saving, under the TIR system, how much CO2 we are saving in a reefer truck. Reefers, why reefer? Because they have this temperature control and then they need to stay on all the time. And we know that in some cases, trucks might stay days at the border just waiting for customs formality to be completed. So under TIR in the GCC region, with the study that we made, we can save up to 50% of CO2 emission if customs procedures are happening smoothly and fast. Bassel, in the same topic as well, maybe it's a bit early for the group as JV, but what are your sustainability practice today? Do you have any initiatives already in place? If not, what can be in the future? I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have initiatives. As a group, and broadly speaking, we are committed to being carbon neutral by 2050 for the whole group. And when it comes to specific actions and initiatives, one of the first I would mention is the hydrogen truck that is parked outside. If you haven't seen it, I urge you to pass by as you're exiting the Sيفا المجدوعي hydrogen truck. So we're still doing research with the truck. It is still not feasible, frankly, but we are doing research with the King Fahd University for petroleum and minerals to see how we can make it more feasible. And I think with Saudi Arabia producing hydrogen locally will also reduce the price a lot. So in the future years, we could get to having it more feasible and seeing it on the roads. Of course, we have a number of other initiatives. The solar panels on most of our warehouse facilities across the world. Sustainability practices, we do have that as well. One point that is personally dear to my heart, and I think the industry as a whole should do more of, is this circular economy. I think it drives a lot, it contributes a lot in the sustainability. I would like to, we talk about ethical sourcing, but I want to talk about ethical production and ethical consumption. When you consume, then there has to be an element of, circular economy with the logistics that goes with it. And as third-party logistics provider, we have a key role to play to close the loop of the circular economy and reduce and contribute to the sustainability.
Yes, agree with you on also the research part. Research are important and it has to be carried out. We are all excited about the hydrogen experience, especially that we would like to know more after what will happen. Can this be considered and then maybe adopted at a larger scale? Especially that we know that the kingdom is in pole position to be a global leader in producing green hydrogen. So there is potentially an interesting use case to be looked at. We will definitely like to collaborate on this in the future. Berna, on the same topic and the use of AI, do you think that AI can help in making road transport more sustainable? How do you see sustainability within your group?
AI and digital innovations play a pivotal role in balancing operational efficiency and environmental sustainability. For example, AI-powered road optimization can significantly reduce fuel consumption and carbon emission, enabling companies to operate more efficient while minimizing their environmental impact. Predictive maintenance powered by AI helps reduce waste by ensuring vehicles and equipment are used optimally, preventing unnecessary repairs. And smart warehouses equipped with AI-driven storage systems can automate inventory management and speed up delivery process by 20% up to 30%. These innovations are already delivering tangible results. AI and digital tools in logistics have led to cost savings of 10 to 20%, with inventory costs reduced by up 30%. By 2026, it is anticipated that 75% of global supply chains will be managed by using AI and data analytic technologies.
Thank you very much, Berna. We will have maybe the last question for everyone. Andreas, last question, and I will leave you in peace after that. But there is an important aspect, and this is what we would like to also see happening more often, is that knowledge sharing between regions and expertise and all. The question to you first is, how does the chemical industry in Europe compares to the one here in the GCC region? And then we are talking about definitely in terms of regulatory framework, practices, etc. But also, how do ECTA facilitate the knowledge sharing if it was needed, for example, to learn about your experience? Do you offer any advice, knowledge sharing to other regions and organizations?
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to give advice, but I will try at least.
Please.
Well, regarding safety, it seems that there's not a big difference nowadays compared to Europe. 10 years ago, there maybe was a big gap, but these gaps have been closed, and I see GCC in some standards surpassed Europe. So there was a great job done over the last decade. The big difference between Europe and GCC is that the activities and all the achievements in this region here are coming from individual companies. It is not a regulatory framework from the governments or by any regulative bodies. It is individual initiatives which are then enforced contractually with the partners. We do believe as ACTA that a tremendous contributor to safety is standardization and harmonization. And this cannot be reached by individual companies. I mean, I'm coming back to the history of ACTA. This was the initial idea, right? To have everybody in one room, everybody in one table to work on safety, especially with harmonization and standardization. About 10 years ago, we had a very, very good cooperation with JIPCA by introducing the Gulf SQS, a safety and quality assessment system, which was already practiced in Europe very successfully. So we had over the regions a very good cooperation, and I would love to start this cooperation again. We have safety is still an ongoing challenge, but we have other challenges like decarbonization. We have talking about the use of AI, women in logistics. So there are many topics we can learn from each other, and we do not have to invent or reinvent the wheel in Europe or in GCC. So I would love to see more cooperation, not on a company level, but on regulatory level, bodies, governments, whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andreas. And yes, we hope to see this collaboration happening again, because it's only beneficial to both parties, as you rightly mentioned. And the industry is in need of this knowledge sharing and alignment on many practices. And hopefully this will happen. IRO is ready to support as well. Thank you again for being with us. And I'll move to you. It's happening on purpose, actually. John, last question is, road transport remain a critical part of the road transport and the international trade perspective. What innovation and trends do you see today, for example, electric vehicles, autonomous driving? How the road transport and the supply chain will be shaped in the future through those technologies?
It's an interesting question, really. I think we're certainly at a stage now in the UK where we're in it's a permanent disruption to the industry now, and the technology is kind of part of the challenge and part of the solution where we're going with this. And I think sometimes it's past, if you look at where the future is, what our vision is or what the industry's vision is for road transport, is this autonomous vehicles? Are these autonomous vehicles potentially could even cut out the 3PL market to a point where the vehicles are operated by the manufacturers themselves? But there's a long, long way to go to that position. To have autonomous trucks, you need 100% complete digitalization of the entire supply chain, which includes the digitalization of all the documentation, the back office operations, the data coming through. Everything needs to be done first. And again, going back to my scenario before, it's the vehicle, it's the driver, while there are drivers around, and also in terms of the operation. This is huge. The decarbonisation or the greening of the fuel supply is probably only one part of this aspect, really, but the way things are moving, all these things need to be considered at once. So in the UK, there's no grants, or if you like, from a government level. So the industry is having to decarbonise at its own expense. And when an industry has to do that, it takes the least, most expensive, or the least expense option, which at the moment is in terms of biodiesels, synthetic diesels, which are all providing 80 to 90 to 95% decrease in carbon emissions at the tailpipe, with no change to the vehicle itself. So this is how the industry is already adopting, and there are a few, not a lot, but there are a few fleets in the UK who are already completely running on alternative diesel fuel, which is, again, is no change to the engine itself. So that is already happening now. The road to then to full adoption of long and short haul electric vehicles, again, goes back to my point of how quick the infrastructure can come along. I mean, even in the last 2 or 3 years now, we've seen that the heavy truck in the UK, a 40 or a 44-ton truck, the range on these is growing almost on every 2 or 3 months now. The range is going from what was 200 miles, I think we can probably achieve 400 miles on the batteries now. So the technology is moving at a really, really fast pace. So I think that will drive the adoption. And it also, as the technology expands and evolves, it brings the asset price down to the operators. At the moment, to buy an electric heavy HGV would be probably 3 times the cost of diesel. To go hydrogen, probably 7 times the cost. So if the industry is taking that cost, it's going to be a very, very slow process. So it really, really goes back to policy intervention at a government level. At what point or at what speed does a particular country want to decarbonise its industry? So it's kind of in the hands of policy leaders and government leaders how fast that journey takes place. We're seeing now from the manufacturers and certainly from the AI tech companies, they're probably evolving at a far, far faster pace than what legislation is or what policy is. So it's kind of, the problem is almost turning back, I would say, to the leaders of the world, really, to adopt and embrace and facilitate the change at a faster pace, if that is what the desire is, really. And I think every country is at a different starting level, at a base level. And the one thing I would say that we do need to do in terms of the decarbonisation process, but it relates to heavy trucks is we need an internationally or globally recognized base level of carbon, because otherwise we're going to end up with thousands and thousands of different base levels of how much carbon we're saving, and we're seeing that already because there's no there's no parameters, if you like, in terms of where we are. What's our starting position is what I'm trying to say. If a truck moves 1,000 miles, its saving is X amount, and that's where we need to work from. So there's a few details to the decarbonisation journey I think needs to be worked out at once. But I think, going back to my first position, we need to understand what the goal is. Is it purely to decarbonise the industry, or are we going to make it far more efficient and really start, in terms of cross-border work or in terms of regional work by road in this region, do we also want to introduce this technology into the borders, smarter borders, as what the IRU has been demonstrating with this TAR process?
Thank you, John, for all the insights during the panel. Last question for you, Bassel, about the future again. How do you see the future of this industry in 10 years from now? Will human take part of this? Will be out of it? I don't know. And do you have any advice for companies today, what they need to do to adapt to this complex environment in the future?
So the future, of course, is going to include, digitalization and technology, and decarbonization and sustainability. So what is the advice? What we do is internally is that we embrace it first, and we start adopting it. We need to invest in these technologies, in these different decarbonization solutions, for example. I'll give you an example, specific examples on the trucks today. There's possibly electric trucks, hydrogen trucks, but also some trucks with different biofuels. Which technology is going to take it? Which one is going to be more efficient? We don't know, because there's still an element of R&D going. Mm-hmm. And so for the private sector, they need to invest, but they need to invest in small part, and then be ready to be scalable and flexible, because they need to adapt path. They need to be flexible and agile, and they adapt path as the technology is evolving and things are getting clearer. But they need to start now. They need to start now with investments in R&D, and embrace the change as they're going through. Because as John said, there is an element of policy setting what is it gonna be, but there is also an element of how the future will develop, which we don't know today. So you have to start investing, and you have to be flexible and agile.
Thank you, Bassel. We will definitely keep looking at the group. What are you going to bring to the industry, and then how this industry will evolve. All the best, definitely, for the future. Berna, I will close the session with you. You also, again, represent the women in logistics. So we would like a word from you about how the future of this industry will look like. How do you see the use of technologies like AI shaping this supply chain logistics in the years to come?
Thank you. The future of logistics will be defined by agility, sustainability, and integration. AI will play a transformative role in enabling end-to-end supply chain visibility, where stakeholders can make informed decisions in real time. Autonomous vehicles, predictive demand planning, and AI-powered warehouses automation will streamline operations and enhance services levels. Over the next decade, logistics becoming more customer-centric, where advanced technologies will offer tailored solutions while supporting sustainability goals. This transformation will require a strategic blend of innovation, collaboration, and investment in workforce development to unlock the full potential of AI in logistics.
Thank you, Berna. With that, our session has ended. Thank you very much for all of our panelists. I hope you enjoyed the session as much as I did. Thank you for the audience for being with us, and then see you next year, I would say.
Thank you so much. Thank you.